Right, so when we start moving from having an unconscious experience into consciously working with or interacting with our experience and responding to it, we do so because of our level of discomfort. Even those of us who go, no, I'm into this because I'm into, expanding my consciousness. Okay. The fact is, if something wasn't uncomfortable, we'd be on the couch, relaxing, not worrying about expanding our consciousness. Okay. So we are driven in to awakening by the very thing that is keeping us asleep. Strange situation. We are driven in by discomfort, which manifests in our life as needs and wants, that if we think we can fulfill these, everything will be all right. So we all enter this sort of work through need and want. But this work is not about need and want. A need and a want is within us when we are unconscious. A need is something that happened in the past that's unresolved, and a want is something that we project in the future that we think if we can just get that done, this will sort it out. For example, happiness. Happiness is a need and want. Happiness and the desire for happiness is the sole cause of unhappiness. Okay. When we want to be happy, what we're saying is, I want to manifest this set of circumstances. That if I can just manifest this set of circumstances, everything will be all right forever and ever. Okay, but the nature of it is the circumstances we want to manifest are usually always physical. Money, the right house, the right relationship, the right job, the right physical circumstances. If I can manifest those right physical circumstances and hold those in place, then I'm going to be happy. But the nature of the physical world is there's only one constant. Everything's always changing. And in order to manifest happiness, what we're really doing is we're running away from one emotional situation which is completely unconscious to us, that's causing us discomfort, into a situation that we believe through interpretation and through watching the world around us and through listening to the advertising that is shown to us, that will make us happy. Okay. And what that does is it causes us to go into deep conflict. We really are running away from a part of ourselves towards another part of ourselves. And the part of ourselves that we run towards we'll call God. And the part of ourselves that we run away from we'll call the devil. And it causes a conflict in the emotional body. All the bad things. And that conflict internally radiates outwardly as a conflict in our life. Whether it's a terrible time, the job, a terrible relationship, a war in this country, that religion is after me, I'm after that religion. However that conflict manifests, it's always a reflection of a conflict within me because I want to be happy. Okay. This work is not about being happy. It's got nothing to do with happiness. And if we enter this work because we want to be happy, we are going to be sorely disappointed. Because we will not be looking at the place where the results or the consequences, we'll be looking for results, not consequences. A consequence is this: if I do a causal activity, there will be consequences. I don't even have to worry about what the outcome is, because there is going to be an outcome, so I let the outcome go. I put my focus on the causal point of the experience. I stay in the causal place. Happiness is about an outcome. Happiness is about results. What I can compare about what I'm doing to somebody else, etc., etc. Happiness requires a destination. Okay. Now, there's nothing more confusing and traumatic for an immortal being to seek out a destination. There is no destination. There is just the journey. So what this work is about the destination becoming the journey. The journey is the destination. And the journey to live in response, no matter what's going on, to live in response to that, knowing that by responding, I am in a causal place, and there will be consequences. And because I'm an immortal being, it doesn't matter when those consequences come. 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, who gives a shit? It's going to come. But if I am in a place of results and happiness, I want that in my 5-year plan. Okay? I'm going to do this the next month, that the next month, that the next month, this each day, this each moment. I'm going to control and sedate my experience so that I can be happy. Okay. We're not interested in that at all, in this work. We're interested in moving our awareness to the causal point as close as we can, because we can only go so close, and then the rest is given. It's full participation, and we have to leave some space for whatever God is to also participate. If we don't, we're in control and sedation again. So there's a point that we can go to, that we lay a foundation, and then the real juicy stuff is given. It's called grace. You cannot go, I want my grace in 3 months' time. Okay. I've paid for this, I want my grace. I've done all this work, I want my... It doesn't work like that. Grace operates from outside cause and effect. It operates beyond our reason. We can work with cause and effect. The only law in the universe, which we also call love, and the word love also is the same word as evolve. If you look, they spelled the same. If I love you, really love you, I won't get in your way. I will let you have your own experience, and I will allow you to evolve according to your own experience, not according to my advice. Big difference. So there's only one law in the universe, and that law makes us all equal. What you sow, so shall you reap. Bottom line, there are no other laws. All the others are agreements we have with ourselves, with our therapist, with our boss at work, with our relationships, with the elements. They're just agreements. They don't mean anything. There's only one law. Cause and effect. That makes us all equal. We are all where we are right now because we are standing in the center, right in the center of the consequences of our accumulated thoughts, words, and deeds. Bottom line, there's no one to blame. There's no real suffering in the world. People that are suffering, that appear to be suffering, that's really not suffering. What real suffering is not knowing that one law. If you don't know that law, then you can head into hell very quickly, what we can call hell, which is a perceptual experience of really discomfort and trauma, because I'm not responsible. Someone else is doing it to me. I go into blame. Blame mentality, which is victim and victim mentality. And when we're functioning at victim and victim mentality, we are in the first 3 chakras. Mainly in the lower 2, mostly in the first. Victim and victim mentality. Survival, blame, need, want, conflict. All of that is victim and victim mentality. The world is happening to me. Poor me. Not true. The world is reflecting what's going on within me. But I don't know that unless I have insight. The only insight is of the emotional body. The mental body doesn't have any insight, nor does the physical. Physical eyes, there's no insight with these eyes. No, this to see the physical world, thoughts and concepts to interact with the mental world, but the emotional body has insight. All our insight comes from the emotional body. We don't know that if we're just functioning mentally or physically transfixed by the world. So, whenever we want to return to our outside, or return to an awareness of what God is for us, or return to a sense of self, we always do the same thing, and we're not aware of it. We reverse the pathway of awareness. We always do it. So just like entering the world, we go from vibrational to emotional to mental to physical. When we seek to have self-awareness or God-awareness or all of those concepts that we call this experience of re-entering authenticity, an essence of what we really are, an awareness of what we really are, we reverse the pathway of awareness. We go from physical to mental to emotional to vibrational. One of the tools that we use to accomplish this, for example, is meditation. So when we go to someone and they teach us how to meditate, the first thing that we'll have to do is learn to physically sit still. To learn to physically sit still. Then we will be given a mental mantra. So if our mantra is to take us home, we'll be given something like home, whatever we get given. A mental mantra to focus our mental body. Once our mental body becomes focused, we will be told that we enter experience of love and devotion, this feeling that happens. And then we enter a spiritual awareness. You can even see the same reversal in a child praying. When a child prays, the first thing they do is adopt a physical posture. Then they say words, dear God, blah, 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 blah. Sweet, beautiful things, mentally. And if you listen to that child, it's going to hit you emotionally there. It's going to activate emotional. And once the emotional is happening, then we are starting to connect with the vibrational. You cannot connect with the vibrational unless you go through the emotional. That's why they say prayer without feeling is a waste of time. God doesn't have ears the way we think of. God's a vibration. If we want to communicate with God, or whatever God is for us, we have to do it through vibration. So, for example, the indigenous communities used to know that. They didn't go out and go, hey, God, bring some rain. We need some rain. They didn't go out and water the gardens, physically. They went and prayed rain. In other words, they would stand in a place that was powerful for them, and they would go, remember what it feels like to be in the rain. What does rain feel like? What does rain sound like? What does this feel like? And that feeling was the prayer. Because that feeling was the communication between this aspect of the experience and that aspect of the experience. We cannot bring something into being unless we feel it. It's very difficult to bring it into, because without the feeling body, we can't communicate that to the causal point, which is the vibrational body. The reason why we have so much fear, anger, and grief is because that's the prayer we're praying. So when I feel angry, I'm feeling it unconsciously, I'm saying, this is what I want. Please bring me more of that. That's the power of the feeling body. Very, very powerful. So it's not think and grow rich, feel and grow rich. Okay. Napoleon Hill was just back there. It hadn't quite gotten to the emotional body awareness. It's feel what you want, feel it. So our task is to reverse the pathway of awareness so that we can move back to the causal point of our experience, the causal point that we can get to now at this state of our evolution, so that we can enter communication with this, or lay the foundation for a communication with this, the vibrational part. Now this is very challenging because we have become masters of suppressing and sedating that which is uncomfortable to us. We have built an entire life experience based on suppressing and sedating what's going on in our emotional body. And we don't even know we're doing it. We don't even know we're doing it. So the major issue on this planet is addiction. Addiction used to be called possession. Over 200 years ago, they wouldn't go, that person's addicted. They'd go, that person's possessed. Now we have a sort of more educated language, we call it addiction. And at some point, when we get more kind of aware of our experience, we'll call it attachment. We're attached to certain things in our experience because those things help us to suppress things that are going on inside of us. Whether it's food, whether it's working hard, whether it's helping people. People who run around helping everybody, these are the helpless people. And their helplessness is reflected in the world, and they're running around trying to help the world because they feel helpless. No one needs any help. No one needs any help. We have to do unto ourselves as we would have others do. When we can get to the causal point of our experience and make adjustments there, those adjustments automatically become reflected. If we do them authentically, they automatically become reflected in our outer experience. In other words, I want to change the way I'm throwing that roll of tape. I don't want to run around fiddling with where the tape is on the floor. My physical life circumstance now, and the way that I think about it, that is already a consequence in motion. What I want to do is go to the causal point of those consequences. And for us, that's the emotional body. So the presence process is a tool that is designed to open up the pathway of awareness back into the emotional body. It's not there to fix anything. Nothing is broken. It's there to assist us to move away from destination consciousness and trying to become a happy people, from trying to control the happenings, that's where happiness comes from, happenings, to a point where we enter journey consciousness and live in a new way of being that is a way in which we respond continually to what's happening to us by always moving our awareness to the causal point of the experience and making adjustments there. So, with the presence process, it's designed to gradually move our awareness from the physical through the mental and the emotional in an integrated way. In other words, just because we know that the emotional body is we don't want to just dive in there. Because that place is hell. That's what hell is. There is heat inside of there. There's a lot of heat. Because when the emotional body isn't working, it goes into, it's just resistance. Okay? If I'm doing a behavior, an example, just an example. I'm, say, 6 years old, and there are visitors coming to the house, right? And I'm excited to see the visitors, and I go, visitors! Visitors come to the house! Visitors, visitors, visitors! And my parents say, behave yourself. Come on, we've got visitors coming, behave yourself. And so I go, quiet, right? And the visitors come in the door, and they go, hi, how are you? And this is Michael. And then the visitors go, ooh, what a well-behaved little boy he is here. I'm sitting quiet. Okay. So suddenly I get all this acknowledgement for being inauthentic. For being inauthentic. For not being myself. Okay. So what I'm doing in that moment of standing there, when I want to be going, I'm so glad you're here. What I'm doing, I'm going, hi, how are you? I'm Michael. I am suppressing behavior. I'm resisting my normal flow of energy. And any resistance, if you create resistance, creates friction, and friction causes heat. Okay. So let's go fast forward 7 years. All right. Say, I'm now, let's go a little bit past puberty. All right. So now, because I'm deeply suppressed in my feelings, I'm one of the cool guys at school. Cool guys are always like the most suppressed people. They're so cool, but they're just deeply suppressed. And the thing about the cool guys at school is they attract all the chicks. Okay? Because the chicks want to go with the guys with the problems. Have you noticed that? Okay? The women always love to go for the guys that have got big problems. Okay? Because it's just really cool. And I catch the eye of a girl who lives across the road from me. And I see her at school. And I'm really attracted to her. But I'm not going to let it on because I'm a cool guy. I'm suppressed. Okay. So sedated and controlled here. So anyway, I just catch your eye and So, say about a week later, she comes walking up the garden path to see me. Now I'm standing in the hallway and I see her coming, and what I really want to do is go, she's coming to see me! She's coming to see me! But what I do is, hey. Okay. Which she loves because she wants to be with one of the suppressed, sedated and controlled guys. Okay. So let's fast forward again. All right. I'm now an adult. Got a new job. I'm quite the book at work. Succeeding. And I invite some friends around to my house. I've got my new apartment. I invite some friends around to come for dinner. So I can, be the cool guy at work. And the people start coming. And I notice this girl at work who I'm really into. And she comes along. And what I want to do is go, she's coming to my house. I can show her my stuff, But what I do is, hey, come on in. Right. And I get all nervous now. This energy bubbles up, the exact same energy that bubbled up when I was a child. But now, I'm not a cool guy anymore. I'm a guy who goes over to the corner and pours myself a whiskey. Have a cigarette. As that energy bubbles up, it's no longer something that's absolutely normal, which it was when I was a child. Spontaneous flow of energy. Now I have an association with it of it being something wrong, something uncomfortable, something unpleasant, from my earliest instances when that energy was disciplined. So whenever that energy comes up, I will find a way to sedate and control it. And that sedation and control is a resistance, causes a friction, causes a heat. That's where these sayings come from. Oh, he's just a bit hot under the collar. He's hot and bothered. Oh, he's just blowing off some steam. Okay? The language of metaphor we spoke about earlier on. We all know about it anyway, we just don't listen to the language of metaphor. Fear, anger, and grief are simply energy that is in resistance, which we have given a concept, a name, which is physically manifested in our world and circumstances. But what is it? It's just heat. Hot as hell in there. It's hot as hell in the emotional body. So you don't want to just dive in there just because you know that's the causal point. And some of you have done water sessions in which your awareness gets taken right in there very quickly. It's hot as hell in there. Okay. So when we do work related to our heart is this part of our experience, right? Birth to 7 years old. That's the heart center. The heart is a child. It's a child. If we want to go and work with the heart and to make changes in the quality of the experience the heart is having, because the child is the creator in our world. Child is the creator. There are no adults in heaven. You'll never hear that, oh, and God created the adults. Okay, there's no such thing as an adult. There's just children in resistance. Actually, dead children. Adults are dead children. We're just children. We're all children. The causal point of our experience is a child. It functions like a child. It behaves like a child. And you know what? When a child is angry and it'll go for revenge, you don't want to get in its way. That child, that causal point, has immense power. The energy it uses to create can be used to destroy. Can be used to destroy. So when we re-enter, when we choose to go up this pathway and to enter our emotional body, we need to do so on the trinity of consistency, responsibility, and compassion. You don't just go bumbling in there. When you raise a child, very important, it's a responsibility. You need to be consistent and you need to be compassionate. And it's very important to understand what those things mean. Okay? Consistency. If you raise a child and you give that child attention on Mondays, I'll give you all my attention on Monday, but the rest of the week I'm busy. Okay? You will have a very different child developing than if you give that child attention for 1 hour a day every day of the week. Every day of the week. A child that's only given attention 1 day of the week, inconsistently, becomes very dysfunctional. A child that you give your full attention to just for 1 hour a day will become balanced. Consistency. Responsibility means if a child comes into the room and it's angry, don't get angry with it. That's reacting to it. If a child comes into the room and is afraid, don't you all now get afraid. If a child comes into the room and starts grieving, don't you start falling apart. Don't react to it, you want to respond to it. So responsibility to the heart center. And compassion. And compassion is a big one. We're taught in this world that compassion means I am going to help you because I feel sorry for you and I'm deeply concerned about your condition. That is not compassion. That is enabling. That's enabling. That's carrying someone. If you carry anyone in this world, at some point you will have to put them down and their feet will land in the exact same place from where you picked them up. So don't bother. Don't carry anyone. Set an example of compassion. Compassion means being. There's no doing involved in compassion. Compassion stems from an understanding that we are all standing in the center of the consequences of our thoughts, words, and deeds. In other words, you are going through what you're going through because that's the accumulation of your thoughts, words, and deeds manifesting around you now. So I'm not going to come there and try and change it, because I'm not going to try and give you advice and tell you what to do and interfere, because interference is going into fear. Interfere. Interference means that I believe that somehow you are responsible for my experience and I better control your experience so that you don't impact mine. That's not compassion. Compassion is, I will be with you while you go through what you go through. You can come to me, be with me while you're going through and then you can pass on, and I won't interfere. That's what real compassion is. And that's how we have to be with our children, and that's how we have to be with our own heart centers. So just because we know that, because we're very mental beings, doesn't mean that tomorrow we're going to go out and be consistent, compassionate, and responsible. We actually have to relearn the behavior taught to us. And that's what the process is about. It's about relearning behavior. In fact, remembering. Remembering. So we begin in the process with the first step, which is of physical presence, which is about getting back into this body. Now, it may appear that we live in the body because it goes with us wherever we go. It doesn't really go with us wherever we go. We leave the body all the time. So we can drive to work and get to work and have no recall whatsoever of the journey to work. Because actually when we were in the car, we were still having that argument with that person and giving our piece about that and telling her what we're going to tell the kids and what I'm going to tell the boss when I get to work. Wherever we think, there we are. Wherever we put our attention, that's where we are. So if I'm thinking about my friend in London, that's where I am. And that's also proof that there's a God, because someone's driving the car and it's not us. Okay. Right. So what we want to do is we want to re-enter the body. That's the first step. The body is a priceless gift. It's a priceless gift. Until we re-enter the body, we are living unconsciously like plankton in the sea. And plankton go wherever the tide goes. They have no say. Plankton is like living in the mental plane, washed around by the tides of everything. Right. So we want to re-enter the body. It's a gift so that we can grab our consciousness and bring it back here and now, in this moment, from where it's fragmented all over. Right. The easiest way to re-enter the body, which is like a plankton getting the body of, not necessarily a fish, because a fish always goes with the shoals that goes and decides where it wants to go, plays, does all these things, doesn't just get washed about. This is what the body is for. It's to anchor our consciousness here so that we can begin to navigate our experience And that's what the mental body is used for. It's a tool of navigation, not a tool of thinking. There's nothing to think about, to understand. Everything is known in the emotional body. We just want to get into the emotional body, the point at which ask and you will receive. Ask and you will be told. The telling is in the emotional body from inside, not from outside. We use our mental body to try and understand what's going on outside. It's a waste of time. The mental body is not for that. So we want to get back into the physical body, and the tool for that is breathing. Simple. And not crazy breathing. Not pranayama yoga. Not breath control, but releasing the control we have imposed on our breath because of our unconsciousness. So most of us breathe and pause between our breaths. If you watch someone who's thinking deeply, watch them carefully. They're not breathing. They're not breathing. When we leave our physical body, we also stop breathing. And we pop in for a few seconds, take a few breaths, and leave. So breathing, consciously connected breathing, is simply breathing like this. Nothing fancy. A dog does it, a cat does it. Most breathing animals do it, unless, of course, they're doing pranayama yoga, which some animals do, like a dolphin. Okay, pranayama yoga, breath control. We want to release the control on our breath that's causing us to pause. So in the presence process, we spend just 15 minutes a day, a very little time of the day, 15 minutes twice a day, connecting our breathing. And what that does, in order for me to breathe like this, a part of me has to be here. A part of my awareness has to be in the present moment, because breath only takes place in the present moment. I don't have to do any fancy breathing. I just have to breathe without pausing. Okay. But that gets a part of my awareness to return into the physical body, to where my body is. Yeah, now, not where my mind has been running around. A lot of my mind is still going to be going all over the place. Don't worry about that. We just want to anchor that part of ourselves in the present moment. So that's the first step that we start, is learning how to breathe. Now, when we anchor ourselves in this moment, what is going to happen is it's going to set a process in motion. It initiates a process. Therefore, consistency, responsibility, compassion. Because that aspect of my awareness that I'm now holding in this moment, that aspect of my awareness is addicted to going somewhere else, in an illusionary past and future. It's addicted to going to a place where my energy is in a dysfunctional pattern and causing me discomfort. It's addicted to going there to try and figure it out, to sort it out. What happened? How can I stop this happening again? That's all happening unconsciously to me. When I hold my part of my awareness in this moment by using consciously connected breathing, I'm stopping that part of my awareness from escaping into the time-based paradigm, into this past or the future, into the unconsciousness. But what happens then is that place is not getting my attention, starts to rattle. In other words, a memory of what that is starts to surface in my awareness. I'm not going there and sedating and controlling it. I'm staying here. It's now going to surface. It's not going to surface as a memory like I had, what did I have for lunch yesterday? It doesn't surface like that. It surfaces as the way people behave around me and the way circumstances unfold around me that cause me emotional discomfort. In fact, we are consistently living in a state of memory, seeing our past memories. Every time we get upset about anything, we are actually seeing a memory. We're not seeing what's going on now. We are recalling something from the past related to fear, anger, and grief, related to a point in this experience here where I resisted my energies, and created dysfunctional energy patterns. So by connecting my breathing, simply doing that, I'm going to start becoming aware of that. And what the presence process does is teach us a language to be able to identify outside the reflections of what is actually going on inside. To identify the signs and how to work from outside, from the physical circumstances, along the mental pathways into the emotional body. So that is one one of the effects of the consciously connected breathing. There are many others. Then what we want to do is to start gaining mental clarity. And in the presence process, what we use to regain mental clarity are two things: perceptual tools and an affirmative process which we call presence activation statements. These are not affirmations, right? Affirmations are this: I'm abundant, I'm abundant. I'm the most abundant person in the planet. In fact, I have stickers saying I'm abundant on my mirror. I have stickers saying I'm abundant next to my bed. I'm abundant. I'm the source of abundance. I am abundant. Abundance is my middle name. Okay. It's called positive thinking. It doesn't work. We only think positive when things are going negatively. Therefore, positive thinking is a reaction. No balance can be gained from reaction. Balance can only be gained from response. So we don't use affirmations as in positive thinking. Positive thinking only came about when we were mental, still in the mental plane. These presence activation statements are actually designed to cause the opposite of what they say. So if I use the presence activation statement, I choose to be spontaneously joyful, you will find out exactly how not spontaneously joyful you are. In fact, all the things that are causing you not to be in a state of joy will come to your attention. And that's what we want. Because we cannot resolve and integrate something if we're not aware of it. The tool of integration is awareness. Awareness. Okay. That's why we want to get in the body with breathing, because then we know where we are, right? Awareness. Here, right? That's my awareness. My awareness is where I am. When I'm all over the place unconsciously, I have no awareness. When I place my awareness on those unresolved issues, they start to transform. So I want to bring them up to my awareness, and the presence activation statements are designed to do that. If you do the statement, I choose to experience this moment, if you dedicate yourself to that statement, you don't experience this moment. You find out where you can't. That's what you want to find out. So we use an affirmative process which runs through the whole procedure, activating changes in the emotional body where they're required at different parts of the journey. Very deliberate, and the word deliberate has the word liberate in it. Very deliberate. The other mental tool we do to create a situation of mental clarity is perceptual tools. Now, with the breathing, we haven't done anything yet. You're not doing anything when you're breathing. You're breathing anyway, just breathing consciously. Not asking you to do anything, just to sit and breathe. It's not really doing anything. It's the same with the presence activation statement. Not asking you to do anything. You're already thinking a whole lot of stuff blah, 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 going on anyway. You might as well just put in some stuff there that's going to help, right? It's going to assist. So a presence activation statement is not a doing either. It's asking you to be there mentally. And a perceptual tool is the same. It is not anything that you do. For example, when we discussed the pathway of awareness into the world, for those of you that didn't know about it and now can see it, for example, let me give you a demonstration of the pathway of awareness. I see this car, right? New 4x4. I want that guy. Okay. I want that guy. Why do I want it? Do I want it because of the physical beauty of it? I may think so. Do I want it because of all the technical stuff and how great this engine is? I may think so. No. I want it because of the way it's going to make me feel to be behind the wheel with the babe next to me. All right. That's why I want it, because of the way it's going to make me feel. If I buy that car and I go to my buddies with my car and they go, no, that's a terrible vehicle. Actually, the better model is this one. I won't like my car anymore because I won't feel good about it. Okay. The feeling is the causal point of all my behavior. I'm not even aware of it. If I go out and buy a dress, it's because of the way it makes me feel. I think it's going to make me feel. If I wear that dress once and someone goes, oh, it's not a very nice dress, is it? I won't put that dress on again because it doesn't make me feel good anymore. It's not about the physical dress. It's not about the mentally. But even when I get it, I see that truck and I think it's going to make me feel that way. Then I think about how I'm using the pathway of awareness every moment in my life, whether I'm aware of it or not. The moment I see that, I can never unsee it. It's a perceptual tool. You never did anything. You just saw the world in a different way. And now that's that. The presence process has over 50 perceptual tools in it, sprinkled here and there. Just by reading the book, you will start to see the world in a very different way. And you can't unsee it. And that's why people say to me, you really messed my life up. Okay? Okay. So we use perceptual tools and presence activation statements to gain mental clarity. What is mental clarity? The definition of mental clarity is kind of twofold. The one is, I am responsible for the quality of my experience. I am responsible for the quality of my experience. That's mental clarity. When you get to that place, that's mental clarity. That's why we say, in the presence process, we say, I'm responsible for my own peace of mind. People usually go, yeah, right. Like that one, okay. I am responsible for the quality of my experience. That's mental clarity. The other aspect of it, of mental clarity, is the quality of my experience is determined by the state of my emotional body. That's mental clarity. Once I operate from that place, I am exiting ineffectual behavior. In other words, behavior that is focused on trying to change the effect in order to have an impact on the cause. Right. So that's about mental clarity. And we have tools in there to assist us with mental clarity. A lot of reading and stuff. It's all to do with moving our intention to the point where we can know, not just believe or think, but actually know that I am responsible for the quality of my experience. And the way we accomplish this is to show it to you in the presence process. In other words, when you go through the presence process, you will find that you get upset a lot. Okay? You're not being upset, you're being set up. All right? And in the presence process, we'll show you how to adjust that point of the upset, which is to go into the emotional body and to feel what's going on. That's the work. To allow ourselves to feel what we have suppressed and sedated from our awareness our whole life. And that is scary. To really feel our fear, anger, and grief. And the thing is this. If I want to enter authenticity, and I am actually on a very suppressed level, a very fearful, angry, and sad person, the most authentic thing is to become that, is to allow myself to embody that, to feel it. We don't want to do that. We have a whole range of pharmaceuticals to assist us not to go there. Okay. So I want to go into my emotional body and feel what's going on. And the reason I want to feel what's going on, authentically, what's going on in my emotional body is this. This is how the emotional body works. If I'm standing like this with my eyes closed, and I allow myself to fall forward and hit the ground, hitting the ground is a symptom. Think of it as a symptom. Because it'll be severely physically uncomfortable when I hit the ground. Boom, okay. And a symptom is what the word says. Symptom, some time. It's a piece of time that's unintegrated from the past, that is manifesting physically in my experience. And the reason it's manifesting physically is because I can't even feel that it's going on. I can't do anything about it if I can't feel. There's no awareness. And while I can't feel it's going on, it's going through my mental body as belief systems, and it's manifesting in my life circumstances, and I'm blaming everyone, which blame is a great word, blame. I'm blaming everyone for what's going on to me. Because I have no insight, I have no inner sense. I can't feel the causal point of this that's going on here. If I teach myself how to feel, if I allow myself the experience of feeling, all right, and I'm standing like this and I'm falling over, just by feeling, not by thinking and understanding. I don't go, okay, I'm 5 degrees out of balance, come back 4 degrees at 4.2. I don't go into that place. That's called therapy. I don't go there. What I do is I just allow myself to feel how out of balance I am. If I can feel how out of balance I am, I restore my balance. That's all. If I can't feel, I fall over. I only fall over because I can't feel. The heart is telling us all the time what to do, how to do it. All the time. If we don't have emotional body awareness, we can't hear it. If we can't hear it, we fall over. Falling over is fear, anger, and grief. Falling over is dis-ease. Falling over is ailments. Falling over is addiction. Falling over is relationship problems. Falling over is lack of abundance. Falling over is all these things. And they're all because we can't feel. We can't feel. We've taught ourselves not to feel. So the presence process gradually guides us into the place of being able to feel. And it doesn't mean that you do this process once and that's it. Okay, I'm done. Let's go and do something else. I'm not something that I have to get over with in order to carry on with something else. The causal point of my experience is something I'm always responsible for. Always. Always. There's never a moment at which I am not responsible for the quality of my experience. In other words, what we have to do is to become our own parent. Become our own parent. Become our own mother. Become our own father. Become our own brother. Become our own sister. Become our own family unit. That's the job ahead of us. That's the job ahead of us. The mother is about nurturing. Mother matter nurtures us. We have to learn how to nurture ourselves. Not because we have to. I don't want to go to the gym because of how it's going to appear to other people. I have to go to the gym because of something that's coming from inside of me, not something that's reflecting off the outside world. People who go to the gym out of reaction, you take their friends away, they stop going to the gym. What's the point? No one's there to see me. No one's there to see what I'm doing. So we don't learn to nurture ourselves out of reaction. We have to learn to nurture ourselves out of love. In other words, because it's part of our evolution, because we want to evolve. Not because I want to be happy. No such state. Because I want to evolve. So that's the mother aspect of us. The father is guidance. I have to become my own source of guidance. I have to become my own father. In other words, I have to believe what my insight is telling me over and above anything the world tells me. Until I learn to do that, until I trust that, I will be led astray. I will be led astray. My sister, that's my healer. That's my healer. I have to learn to heal myself, to be the part of myself that can bring me back to wholeness. My sister is my emotional body. My brother is my mental body. My brother is about my lessons, to follow my purpose, carry out my life lessons. All those things I have to become integrated within myself. Part of what the presence process does is initiate those different attributes of our being so that we can come into wholeness and stop running out to other people in the world to do that for us. It's about growing up. It's about growing up. Once we start coming into wholeness, it's a journey. It's not a destination. That wholeness is what our holiness is. Holiness is not some state where we're walking around going, oh yeah, groovy. That's not holiness. Holiness is actually taking care of our whole experience to the capacity that we're able to, which is going to the causal point of our heart center. Our heart center as the causal point. Now, it is also a rite of passage. The heart is what separates the wheat from the chaff. Okay. Not your intelligence, not your qualifications, not what you've physically built up, not how much money you have. None of these things are going to help us in what we're moving into now. None of these things will happen. What is going to happen is the ability to which we can listen to our own heart center and the ability to which we can re-enter that place of being authentically. Right? Because this is how it is. While I run away from what's going on in my heart, I will enter behaviors and circumstances that will cause me to have an inauthentic experience and to become an inauthentic personality. In other words, many of us enter spiritual paths or disciplines or many of the things we do as a means to try and deal with the discomfort in our lives. In other words, we run to God or run to things in this world as a reaction to what's going on in ourselves. Successful. That's their sedation and control technique to get away from the discomfort in the body, in the emotional body. Some people will go and join spiritual paths and become celibate. Sit there. Actually, what they're doing is they're running away from their lives. The most authentic place to be is the place where we are in our lives. But we can't stay there if we're uncomfortable. We'll consistently be looking for something else that can give us happiness or save us. Right. Save us from what? From hell. What's hell? It's the heat in the emotional body. Okay. The only one that can save us from that is us. Now, when we allow ourselves to begin feeling our fear, anger, and grief, the first thing that comes up is fear. You've heard the saying, fear is the key. Fear is the key. Fear is the key. Fear is the key to liberation. If we cannot face our fears, we stay forever stuck. So the first thing to do, the first thing that comes up when we do emotional work is fear. It goes from fear, because fear is always related to the physical, to anger. Anger is like a plot, rage. So the mental fractures the mental body into grief, the resonance of a dysfunctional emotional body, overall resonance. So we start with fear, anger, and grief. If we don't want to go near our fears, we're stuck. That separates people from doing this work to people that will never do it. If we sink deep enough into our fear, we will find an experience of anger. If you go deep enough into your fear, underneath there is anger, there is rage there. If you sink deep enough into your rage, you will find grief. It's all the same emotional energy stuff, just with different concepts, seeing at different levels of awareness. What are we most afraid of? What are we most afraid of? Our anger. We're most afraid of our own anger, because if we allowed ourselves, so one thing in this world you're not allowed to be. It's okay to be afraid and build walls around yourself and barbed wire and have alarm systems and carry guns. It's okay to be afraid. Not okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad and depressed, go and have Prozac and all that. That's okay. Don't do that. But don't be angry. We're afraid of our anger. Because if we let our anger out, we believe we will destroy everything around us. That's our greatest fear, is our anger. When we go into our anger, what are we most angry about? Our broken hearts. It is impossible for an unconditional being to enter a conditional world and not have its heart broken. It's impossible. The very nature of entering this conditional experience is that we will be let down, because we enter as unconditional beings. We're going to be let down. We're going to have our hearts broken. Even though I'm being disciplined there at the door and a well-behaved child for the visitors, that's having my heart broken. That's not being allowed to radiate who and what I am. Okay. So beneath it all is heartbreak at not being able to just be what we are. We think we have to go and do stuff in this world to be accepted. That's why we think our purpose is a doing. If I can just find out what it is I'm supposed to do, I'll be happy. I'll be at peace if I can just find out what I'm supposed to do. No. No doing can ever bring us peace. It's a state of being that we want to return to. This is the rite of passage. When I allow myself to feel my fear, and I see that I don't die, and I can be with my fear, then my anger will come up. And boy, when that anger comes up, and I allow myself to feel my anger, and I don't react to it. I just allow myself to feel it, so I can bring myself back into balance. When I allow myself to feel my anger, and I see that I'm not going to destroy the world, and it's all right to be angry, and I might put some people in their place. The universe will give me a chance to go, I'm drawing the line here, and nothing happens. Oh, that's quite good. Okay, so when I allow myself to do that and see I'm not going to destroy the world from my anger, then my grief will come. All right? And my grief will come as crying, just crying for no reason at all. Not crying in a group, not group crying on my own for no reason at all. Sobbing. I feel the grief of the world. I feel the grief of the cosmos just shuddering through my body. That's the grief. Get to that place in the grief. And when I see the consequences in my life of going through those tears, of just falling apart by myself and sobbing, and I see how it lifts the veils and it clears the energy, then I'm no longer afraid of my feelings. I'm no longer afraid of my heart. All right. So when I allow myself to feel what's authentically going on with me, I start to enter authenticity. I start to enter an experience of integrity. In other words, I'm actually in line with what's really going on with me. If I'm angry, I'm angry. I start to enter an experience called intimacy. Intimacy is into me and see, intimacy with myself. I start to get to know myself. Not so frightened of myself anymore. Then my attention stops running into the world, trying to make things happen or stop them from happening so that I can feel comfortable. I stop doing that. I stop running into inauthentic experiences that are outside what's happening to me right now. I start to settle into this place. What I will also notice is that I'm learning a vocabulary that I stopped speaking around about here. The vocabulary is called emotional body awareness. When I allow myself to feel the fear, it's not fear, it's energy that hasn't been moving. As I allow myself to feel that energy, it creates a vocabulary in me of feeling that I haven't allowed myself to experience. And I allow myself to feel the fear, it also unleashes a vocabulary of feeling in me that I haven't been part of since I was a child. The same thing with my grief. I allow myself to feel. In fact, I stop trying to feel certain things and not feel other things. I allow all feeling in. I allow all feeling in. When I get into that place, what I'm doing is awakening my emotional body awareness. How do we perceive a vibration for ourselves in our experience? We can perceive it as something shaking over there. But in my internally, how do I perceive a vibration? I have to feel it. I have to feel it. If I want to perceive the vibrational, I have to develop the emotional. And in the text you'll see, unless you suffer, you can't know God. You must suffer. No, it's a misinterpretation. It's not about going out and adding suffering to your experience and hanging yourself up on hooks and doing all these things so that you can know God. It's unless you feel your own suffering. Blessed are those who mourn. In other words, blessed are the people who are going to feel their own grief. Why? Because they awaken emotional body awareness. They develop a language of the emotional body of feeling, a wide range of feeling with which one can now begin to perceive what's happening in the vibrational body. Because the fact is, whatever God is speaking to us all the time. All the time. But if we don't have the vocabulary, we cannot understand the language. We cannot understand. We cannot be guided by this. What we then do is try and guided by the physical. So, we all, and this is it, we all have within us the exact amount of suppressed fear, anger, and grief that when allowed to come into our awareness and felt, will develop the vocabulary, the exact vocabulary required, the parameters of that vocabulary, in order for us to then enter vibrational body awareness. If we think we can go on any discipline that does not incorporate taking responsibility for the heart, and that we can still have communication with what God is within us, it's delusional.